We can record to the cloud.
Yes, we are back.
Works.
So I'm happy to announce the next session. I already shared with you the title, and I'd like to pass the word to the group of exciting wisdom holders who will bring us closer to the richness of the community circles. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Violetta. And Susie, are you here? Yes.
I'm here. I'm here. Okay, we're just checking if everyone is here.
Everyone's here who's here. We're
Yay!
open to all. And
I'm just
Hola.
seeing where just Hiker. There we go. Ah, from the forest.
yeah. And I'm just sitting. I just am sitting with the ideas from the previous 2 hours and the 2 hours before that. It's so much. And today I'm feeling like I need a healing circle myself. So this will be good. I want we'll just do the framing and the welcome and we will just be together here. So I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio, helping co-host. I'm in the bioregion of the southern shore of the Great Lake Erie. And then I want to introduce Susie, like she said, in the middle of a forest in South Africa. Susie, would you like to do the welcome? And I'll do the framing and then we'll introduce each other and go from there in the circle.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. And yes, really thank you for the conversations prior to this. Isn't it amazing how the thread just continues and is so appropriate and so aligned at the moment with all these conversations. So I really want to welcome everybody who is here in the bigger platform. And then to our guests for the next couple of hours, we have a group of really incredible women who I like to refer as our modern day medicine women, and who all have their stories of community and of growth and of healing. There's something very powerful when women come together, and we did a circle the last time, which Kimberly and I decided, okay, this has to continue. It's something that's been very close to my heart, even in my own community, creating these circles where we can hold each other and where this greater heart as one beat literally creates such a ripple of healing. So I'm actually based in Hogsback in the Eastern Cape in South Africa, in the oldest indigenous forest. And I've got two of my community also online. But at this moment, I'm sitting, somehow the mother city of Cape Town flew me in a couple of days ago. So I was clearly meant to be in this space for the Connectathon. So it is wonderful to see you all. And I'm very, very grateful for the time and energy you're bringing to this call. I did write some notes, and Kimberly and I have been really focused on putting something together that's very special indeed, and that we can speak from our authenticity and from our really grounded spaces of what each of us are actually doing with regards to healing ourselves and how that healing then overflows into community. So I'm going to hand you back to Kimberly, who'll give you the framework, and we'll take it from there. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Susie. And I'll add a little bit here, a little context, because we're in some of the same worlds, that people previous in the previous circle, for an example, and times can get really tough. And one day, Susie just said, "All right, how are you showing up for yourself so that you can show up for community?" Right? Because how do we take care of ourselves in whatever situations that we're in? And by healing per se can mean a lot of different things. But there was a great noticing that kept coming up, like in the field of conversations, people noticing what is going on in my body. Like I see someone here who mentioned, yeah, this burning in my stomach, and there's fires here, and what the inner, how is this related to the outer? So that was also part of what we wanted to continue. Last Connectathon, we had a women and the rivers that run through us circle that some of us were in here, and in very practical ways, the river running through us, the reciprocity of that, and from soil to soul, regenerating land and community. So this is kind of just a natural continuation of that. And we do have people from several continents here who will be sharing some of their practices, how they show up for themselves, and then part of what's in the community. And we can also open it up to everyone. There is a feminine energy here. There is, we were interested in exploring how women who have often been at the heart of community and in peacemaking can create spaces for more of this, because there needs to be more of this, and there can be healing and finding purpose, but places where we can feel safe to share experiences, and where the process itself, this is what the process itself may be a vessel for awareness and positive change. So there are a couple questions we've been holding. And one is, Susie, you don't have notes, so I'll read, just didn't want to forget these questions. How does showing up for oneself and community manifest in relationships with earth, food, water, this type of thing? Does this connection help heal this separation or illusion of separation? What is ours to hold? Like, so that, again, that relationship between what's inside and what's outside. I have a friend, she can't be here today because she just had some traditional Western surgery, but she opened an integrative medicine unit at a large, one of the most well-known medical facilities in the world, actually. And she also holds a centered heart space meditation that I'm a part of. And she had an insight that, when it kept coming up about in our bodies and what's going on out in the outer world, which is really the same world, she's like, traditionally there has been, this is what we've done, and we don't have to do it anymore. So there's a little bit of that energy here as well in wanting this space. So we'll see who's here who knew about this and are coming today. And we're going to go around and do some very, very brief introductions. We want to hear your voice for a minute, where your feet are touching the ground right now, and just describe, or even with an object or just a few words, what's one way you show up or you have shown up for yourself that then you might expand upon a little more in the next round. Okay, so I'll start, and then I hope I don't ever talk again. But and I'm going to, so dialoguing for me is actually one way I show up for myself, because there's just so much nourishment in connecting in this way. And I want to bring in the story of a woman from a Ukrainian conversation cafe from just a couple weeks ago. Like a story just came out. She just talked about how she goes to the river near where she lives in Ukraine every day. And she goes into the river, and the minerals are with her and on her and in her. And then she goes to her job as a teacher. And she says, the river is with me all day. There's inspiration. So here's someone that's living in a physically war-torn country who has peace, and who is able to connect with people from wherever we are, whoever shows up in the space, right? And that's a practice, I would say, going to the river every day. So with that, we'll start going around the circle, and Susie, I'll pass to you, and then we'll go to Rupen, and then we'll keep coming we'll go around the circle.
Okay, so my journey took me to the forest, and one of the ways that I show up for myself, which I had to learn all new habits coming out of corporate, coming out of the city, and literally being in the middle of nowhere, was my full-on reset. So my journey has been really quite intensive with connecting with nature, and it has become my daily practice and I think thank goodness I am on my own, because if any normal person saw me, they'll think, oh gosh, what is going on? But actually all my friends are joining me, this inner child. But I have a morning ritual of, I believe and know that we are energy beings. And my start to the day is to start clean. So I always step outside. I walk a lot barefoot. And I know that our feet on the ground is a reconnection to our magnetic field. So I stand there with my feet on the ground and I give myself one big shake, because I'm like, when an animal is traumatized, they shake off and they literally carry on chewing the leaf that they were chewing. And being stagnant as a human being and not moving literally stagnated my entire body, and my entire world became so heavy. So I got into the habit, and it was actually quite a natural thing to start shaking and really shaking myself off, and then swinging my arms and reconnecting with my body. Because once I've had that good shake of everything, I then am literally going, I'm here, like, hello, good morning, good morning, good morning. Like bringing that awareness, which is a big word in all these conversations at the moment, back into my body. So my journey in the forest has been full on presencing and embodiment of the nature being that I am and that we are. And by using the shaking method, I'm able to get rid of all the dust and anybody else's energy pixels that may be flying around that are not matching in my vibrations. So it's been a big thing that even if I step aside from meetings, or if I've had someone come in that hasn't felt so great, or even at the end of the day, the end of my day, my habit for showing up for me first is to get in my own body and to own my own energy field. And shaking something that really, really has changed my life. So I'm going to pass that to the baton, the beacon, the talking stick onto Rupa now after I've shaken it off. And all yours now. That's my one thing.
And just like, a minute or 2 minutes tops.
So I'm Rupin. My feet are planted in Paris, France. I'm Indian, born in Africa, and raised in Canada. And so this is just the short story. And so I'm living here in France. So all this movement, I've lost that connection to my roots. So I have many different practices that I use to ground. I use the four elements, but the one that speaks to me, that spoke to Kim when we were having a conversation about today, was singing. So that's something that I'll expand on later. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Patty and then Daria. Where you are?
Hello, everyone. I am Patty, friends with Kim. I am currently in Cleveland, actually Westlake, a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, 8 minutes away from Lake Erie. Going to the beach, going to the lake is definitely grounding. And one thing that has happened recently, I revised my rituals and routines, things we do in the morning and evenings, and really try to get that sense of groundedness and all of the good reasons why routines and rituals are good for us. And then I shared it with friends, and that's, with me sharing it, was that way of connection and encouragement and building a little community with others. And I think that probably prompted Kim to invite me into this space. So thank you.
We'll go Daria and then Sarah.
Hi everyone. I sit here in Latvia on the Baltic coast, and I was born in Siberia, closer to Mongolia, near the mountains range. And I don't think I ever felt the loss of this connection to the vastness of the forests and mountains. I always feel to carry it with me. And lately it's more of a systemic and family constellation practice that is a way of taking care of myself and the family and the community, as it's perhaps not, I'm not sure it's about healing. I'm not sure about the term of the healing, but certainly about revealing the hidden kind of loyalties and connections, and letting the body speak for itself and remember things that is there, because it's just I don't know how it works, but I feel when the things are coming, how deeply rooted they are and how old and ancient some of the knowledge that is there in the system. So I always appreciate this opportunity to have it acknowledged and revealed and shared. And thank you for inviting me, really. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Daria. So we'll go Sarah and then Riona.
Hello, everyone. I have a very croaky voice today, so forgive me for that. Where are my feet touching the earth? I did smile when I read that, because my feet are not touching the earth because I live on a boat. So I am cradled by water, or at least my boat is, as I speak. And I've always been nomadic. I spent a long time as a meteorologist, so I've worked with the weather, which of course is everywhere. And I guess I feel at home under the sky, which is everywhere. And my practice has always been listening. Not always hearing, I'm getting better at that, but listening. This is a very nomadic lifestyle that I live. Boats really are ships that pass in the night. So you may see people for a few days and then that's it, we move on. So I'm creating my own community online now. And that is a practice of creating space for others to be heard, women to be heard. So I get to practice listening, which I love. And my daily practice is a cup of tea. I'm British. I start the day with a cup of tea and I go outside to my home under the sky and I listen to the day. Thank you.
Sarah. Riona, and then Heike.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. It's for having me here. My feet are touching the earth in the beautiful village of Hogsback in the Eastern Cape, South Africa. I was born in Mpumalanga in South Africa, and I've had the honor of knowing this mountain since 1998, but being a permanent resident for the last 9 years. Um, Daily practice, definitely also making sure that I'm back in my body. Um, my walkabout in dream time can get quite intense sometimes, or just I realize that we do work in the dream time as well as in what we call the awake state. So I make sure to enter my body, that I'm back. Mostly say hello to my pooches and my cat. So I start my day by greeting my furry kids, having a cup of coffee, um, gratitude practice, and journaling. Minimum of 6 pages longhand. That's helped me a lot. And it's something I always used to journal, but not in longhand. And then work through the artist way, which encouraged this. And yeah, journaling, breath work, because breathing is what brings us back to this moment. I get quite anxious, kind of like, Susie, why am I here? But I'm here, and I've chosen to show up, be present, and just be available and be here with all you beautiful sisters and see where this stunning conversation goes. I do ensure that I start either with music or my own voice through my own body. I do believe in sound, and I love the effects of how we can tune our bodies. Bless.
Thank you. Heike, would you like to go next?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me too. My feet are touching the earth. Also, where Riona's are touching, also in Hogsback. I'm born and grew up in Germany. I moved to South Africa 20 years ago. And then I was in Johannesburg first in the big city. And now I'm here in the mountains for the last 7 years. And my daily practice is it changes from day to day. Yoga practice to get myself into my body. It's very important to for me to inhabit myself um, and to be immersing myself in nature. Shoes off, and whether it's working in the garden or going for a walk with the dogs in the forest barefoot, and to connect to the earth that way. And to just be silent and listen and yeah, and think, listen to my own thoughts and musings in my head. Yeah, that's what nourishes me every day. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. So this concludes our first round. And there may be more people coming. There was a couple more in the circle, and I see other people here. The next round, as envisioned, is an invitation to go deeper into some of these practices, or or share about your community. How does this show up in community? Because you are sourcing or resourcing yourself. What do you bring any of these practices out into your community, or just what does it look like? So we'll let everyone. You can just go when you feel called to go among our circle here. And then after this, we'll open up to open dialogue. But Rupen, may I? Oh, Susie, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'll be quick. So moving to the forest, I realized how out of body I was, and listening to the conversations of how important it is to get into one's body. I went on a journey of realizing how disconnected I was. Actually, I was so in my headspace that my body had been completely forgotten. And going into the forest frequencies and going into nature, my big journey has been to ground my bigger aura into this human vessel, and to actually be presence. My biggest classroom has been the forest, my biggest teacher, the trees. And so my journey of slowing down, and it's funny because I actually did a course with Ferial, that's how we met, and Ferial with Gavin came to the Connectathon, how it all started, was it's been a journey of so much that's brought me into a space where I could share with others, or I can share with others now. So I offer to my community now only from my experience. Life now is no longer theory. Life now is really real beingness. And it's a journey to understand beingness. And my journey in this multidimensional remembering of who we are, my connection to the trees, literally was a decompress. And with Ferial, we did the stop, reset, go. And it was so funny how just the theory then coming into the embodiment of stop, reset, go was such an awareness in my world of how we do live in fear in the future, false evidence appearing real, and how we wear these cloaks of the past that keep us from who our tree version of authenticity is. And so the forest and the trees has molded me now over the last, I've been in Hogsback for 2 years now, has molded me now into actually offering and sharing groundedness with our community. And I do private one-on-one women retreats with embodiment, which is all mind, body, soul, understanding the bigness of us, and the landing in the being, and the understanding of the beacon and the lighthouses we are as these grounded trees. So my sharing has been only from experience, that I could have that confidence to actually be me and to open it up and share with others. There is such power in that grounded tree address that we all strive to anchor and to root. And it really is taking that time and taking that moment to connect with nature address. You know, when they say she has such a lovely nature, that saying was for a reason. We are nature. So my journey in the forest has been to reconnect with all my seasons, with all my greenery, with all the life and the sprouting and all the composting, the whole bang shoot of nature. So I have now, from this personal experience, been able to now confidently open up my home, my space, and my embodiment to bring people back into their bodies through nature and through the experience of just remembering who we are from that quieter place. You cannot hear anything from a noisy room. And the trees just remind you of just how quiet the world actually is in the inside of us, and that frequency and the knowledge of peace. I know that ripple is creating the new universe from my inside out and creating my community around me. So that is how I share my findings now of my being. Rupin.
Wow, that's so beautiful. There's so much that I want to share. because the trees have a big place in my own life because when I would get anxious, I would leave my body. It's something it happens. It used to happen a lot. So, and I would go towards prayer, and that would pull me even further out of my body. And then I would go to the tree, like, so I live in a city, and I go to the park, and there's this beautiful, tall, tall sequoia, and it it can feel when I'm out of sorts, and it just boom, it just brings me back in. So I've learned other practices that keep me in my body. And I've also learned how to stay in my body. So that was also a big shift, that I don't need to go out, that it can come in. So this was also a big learning that I had. But I want to share about the voice. There's Chloe Goodchild. I did a course with her from silence to sound. So using the bed of silence, making sound that comes from within us, our voice, listening to that and letting it, like a bell, just listening to the sound of our voice coming in and then just listening to the echo of the sound. And so I also learned a technique where to clear the chakras, we do the Indian scale. Sa re ga ma, and you go up, and you also use different mudras, different hand gestures. So this is a way of evacuating the emotions that get stuck in the energy centers. And I learned this way of cleansing my instrument, and I brought it to my daughter's school. So I made a little program, a 1 hour program, where I have the children tell me what is their weather right now. And then we would do the scales and see how their weather has changed at the end of doing a 1 hours of voice. And what showed up was, somebody very tearful, felt much more calm and relaxed. But what was really interesting is when there was a few children that said, I feel like I can speak to anyone. I feel like anything is possible. I said, wow, if we're bringing this into the schools and the kids are learning a way instead of going towards distraction to going towards themselves. I think this is what I've learned for myself, and just bringing that to the children as well. So that's thank you for letting me share that.
I'm happy to step into the silence, following on from Ruben's voice. One of the questions, Kim, you offered us was, what is ours to hold? And I wrote down, what is ours to hold space for? And that is one of the questions I've been asking myself for some time. And it made me reflect on the times I wasn't heard and the conversations perhaps that I didn't have and still haven't had, and how I could create space for other women to have those conversations. And for me, the space I hold space for is the dreams of women. And by dreams, I mean the things that we long to create, with our lives, not the dreams of night, which is sweet, of course, but the things that we could do or create or be with our lives if we could. And that's the community I create. I create space for women to come and share their dreams and be heard. And as Rupen will know, when women speak, when they give voice to something that matters deeply, words become incantations. They awaken something which, once awake, can be reluctant to go back to sleep again. And for me, our dreams are avenues for us to bring our medicine into the world, whatever that may be. And you know that's true because our dreams matter, and you feel that when you speak of them, if you speak truly. And so by holding space for women to, I hope, get back in touch with a medicine they may have forgotten they had, because this is not always a conversation we have the opportunity to have in our lives, as I've discovered with the women I've interviewed. I like to think that there are some candles being lit inside women that will become torches and flames and fires, and maybe light candles in other women, and to bring more of our medicine to the world. Because when I look at the world from my slightly biased eyes, it's something I think the world is calling for right now. So in answer to the question, what is ours to hold? I'm not sure I'm holding anything other than space for women to speak their dreams, and I listen.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I wanted. I want to stay silent, and I want to welcome Uhuru to the circle here. She just came in, my sister. Um, we are in a group together, Co-Fundical, co-creating regenerative funding ecosystems. And Uhuru was the original inspiration for women gathering together in the circle that was women and the rivers that run through us, but she couldn't be there herself that day. So I'm really thrilled that she's with us. And I may or may not have given her the wrong time for today. So Uhuru, we did one round of going around saying where our feet are touching the ground, and a little preview of a practice or how we might show up for ourselves in order to show up for community. And now we're going a little deeper into those practices or community. So if you would like to do a little intro and go deep, or just preview, it's up to you. But we invite you in right now.
Okay, it's saying I'm in driving mode, which is appropriate because I feel coming into this space feels so much heart, fullness. It's very just invigorating and intense. My tailbone is connected with the earth, connecting with all of you, with your feet and your bottoms, wherever you are. And I'm actually in a new place. It's only 2.5 miles from where I'm usually tending these plants, but it feels like an entirely different world. I am in the river, in the kind of the river Piedmonts of the Sissipahaw in the Virginia mountains on the North Carolina side. So, and there's goats, baby goats facing me. There's the stand of goldenrod, and there's all of this kind of activity happening around me, and I feel so grateful to enter into this space and to be able to be present with you. And I'm so grateful for sisterhood and and the brothers who are holding us as well and holding themselves. Um, yeah, my heart is so full. Like I'm just full of energy right now. So I'm ready to continue just grounding in and connecting with you all and holding a listening space.
Well, I would also invite us to not be shy. Not that we're not that we're being shy, but please feel free to come forward and share your stories. We the whole first 1 2 hours are about really about stories, and we are our experiences are our stories. We are our stories. So the silence is beautiful. I do love silence, and I love stories. I think we all do.
Hey guys, so being in Hogsback for the last 9 years, I left corporate about 15 years ago, and one of my first tools in my toolbox was Reiki. And I chose Reiki because it had helped me so much in my own life. You know, I absolutely loved like it was non-invasive, and I felt really safe with the beautiful elder that practiced Reiki on me. And very much, I do battle with words, but I have learned that once again, coming back to the breath, if I just breathe, and when I breathe out, I can trust the words that will come out. Um, Reiki doesn't pathologize or name. It just kind of does what it does. It's a jumper cables, and it allows our beautiful bodies over those days after to come into balance. This was where my Reiki tuning forks came into my life in a beautiful way. Um, and in so many ways, I realized that we are really like an instrument that we can just get out of tune. And I loved the Reiki tuning forks because they gave me the ability to trust in myself. I knew the science and everything behind like sound and frequency. Um, and very much, Rupin, what you said earlier as well. I love the fact of how just by chanting those beautiful sounds and frequencies through our systems, just what it does for the system. So elemental practices through the Andean tradition and lines taught me just how to come back to basics. Um, Understanding how I am those elements gave me the word after I left corporate. Words and writing was no problem for me in business, but then I stepped out of that 15 years ago and I stepped into this energy world and the Andean tradition and Munaki, and only trained in massage when I moved to the mountain 9 years ago. But one of the ways that I like to bring this to the community is to do the combination sessions that offer people in the community, if someone's never experienced a Reiki session or a sound clearing or just biotuning, to offer the combination because it is like the tapestry that we weave with different colors that it goes in all directions. You know, 25 years ago, I was like, I want proof that I'm a multidimensional being and still trying to understand that. But I think simple methods of wisdom and knowledge that we build up to share that with others, these relative beautiful shortcuts that we can show others. So I'm a big like hands-on. You'll come for a massage, but you might leave knowing how to hold your hand and yin and you to balance your body because I realize that a lot of people stuck in concrete jungles or out there, as I might call it, I'm blessed to live here. It was a big decision to unplug, give them the tools to help themselves when they leave this beautiful, magical, mystical world of Hogsback. The trees understanding that it's our brothers. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Rihanna. And thank you, Rupin and Sarah. It was good listening to you, and I felt like I love this sense of life knocking on my doors and showing what is there to hold. It's even the enjoyment of this presence of what is about to show up that brings me joy, and this sense of kind of either it's individual sessions or the group that I hold for the constellations, that this sense of how it's building up on the different layers and in the different tapestry of it. This is something that I really feel that it is a serving, it is a service to the community, to myself, to the family, to the world. I don't know, but this feeling this connection on the soul level and letting it flow through me when things are just coming, like the information comes, something is getting revealed, and it's all just building up by itself. And the more I let it come, then the more it's showing up. So that's what brings me joy and the feeling of life itself. The feeling of perhaps it is the purpose, I don't know, or it's just we name it in that way. There is something when I feel that, yeah, what's needed to happen happened. It's transformative, it's changing the things, it's moving something, it's letting it flow. That's the beauty of it. To have these requests, to have this invitation from people or from life or from the community. It is something to hold. Thank you.
Hey, so I was focusing a lot on the questions you were asking earlier, and I don't, but then you said it's story time. So what I want to share is that when I was growing up, I was always very anti-human. So I was always drawn to animals. And I think up till maybe when I was 30 or so, I was always saying, I will never work with humans or, yeah, I want to work with animals because we are all bad. We're wreaking so much havoc on this world, on our planet, on nature, and on the resources. And living here and having the practice of coming into my body and of being in nature, it has made me realize that we are all one, and what is inside, that's what we get out, what we give out. And so my 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 hatred, almost, I want to say, for humankind has turned into understanding that we can only be kind and good and respectful to nature, to our home, we are if we have love inside, if we have peace inside. Because if we don't have love and peace inside, we can't give it out. And then we give out whatever we feel inside, the bitterness and the frustration and whatever it is, the sadness. Yeah, so I think I show up differently. Well, I've completely changed the work I'm doing. I give yoga sessions and I do myofascial release sessions, and I really focus on having people become aware of what's inside of themselves, of the traumas they've gone through, of the fears, the sadness, everything, so they can change it, and they can change it for themselves and maybe clear it out with whatever practice they find they are most drawn to. I mean, I think different things work for different people. One person needs to go into a river, another person needs to have their feet on the floor barefoot, or hug a tree, or one person has to do yoga, for another person it's Reiki. We all got to find our tools that work for us to start clearing the cobwebs inside and creating that peace and that love, so that we can actually start changing the world and giving out into the world, or changing the world into a better place.
I think that's everyone shared around too, Kim,
Oh,
except you.
Patricia and Uhuru, Wayne, the two there. Would you like to come in?
I am definitely in deep listening mode, and I appreciate everyone's stories and journeys. Um, I don't know if I have anything to truly add right now. Um, I think I'm just here soaking it all in, Kim.
Hey, thank you, Patty. And I'll share just a little one. I'll share a little tidbit. I can share something about Patty. Like Patty, to me, she what do we call it? Like a prototyping genius. I mean, she doesn't stop prototyping, and I think that that is a real service and going, bringing what's inner into manifesting, like whether the community is or meditation on the beach or when something when something comes in being with my dear friend Rupin, we've been in inquiry for quite a few years, and like we're going to bring dialoguing into the workplace. We haven't prototyped anything. We're just so deep in inquiry, and Patty can just really move things. And I just would like to share that. I think it's a beautiful practice that the flow comes right through you into actionable items with impact. So that's Patty.
Thank you. And for context of people on this line, I think it was, I'm going to say a month ago, I gave a pop-up meditation on the beach. And I offered 3 sessions, one at 7 a.m., one at 8 a.m., and one at 9 a.m. And, whoever shows up, shows up. There's no registration, there's no fees. It's purely for the sake of connecting and meditating outside. So thank you, Kim.
And then we'll bring in Uhuru if you would like, um, and then open to all. Hey, Susie, and then after that, there are quite a few of us in here, not myself, but I say us, in doing coaching practices, the coaching world. And I think it's really interesting how some of that profession is changing to make space for emergence, like in ourselves or in our clients. And those could be some good stories if people would like to share those. First, Uhuru?
Hmm. Ooh. 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 Ooh.
Bring mom back to one thing. If there was a word in English that could express what's happening for me,
The word would be remember, remembering. But it's not the remembering about some recollection necessarily about a mental recollection, but there would be a dash between the dash membering. You know, y'all, I would love, I'm not sure I have the words or if this is the place, you know, for words. Yeah, I just wanted to share, and it can go on and on, this song that's in my heart. So that feeling when I came in that was so intense in my heart is now has moved into my extremities, moved into my hands, moved outward. And you guys didn't hear me, did you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I did. Okay. Um, yeah. There's so many stories to share. I would say the one that comes to my mind is just around tending the heart. And I remember being pregnant when I was a much younger human, and I remember feeling this excitement about tending this being I imagined inside of me. And I remember eating so healthy and drinking so much water and going for walks and that was not to be. That child did not come into fruition. And I'm remembering, as I tend my heart, I take my heart for walks and I sing a song out loud from my heart, and I walk barefoot from my heart. Um, I do believe the tenderness I feel in tending my heart is even deeper than what I felt as someone who thought she was going to be a mother at a very young age. And that's my story.
So let's open it up, and I would like to read a question that Violetta put into the chat too, and anyone can answer this question. Violetta's interested in sharing how you started your journeys of these deep connections with nature, these circles. Moving to the countryside, was there a moment of revelation or long anticipated step? Quite certain everyone's answer is different. Don't know for sure, but probably. And I also want to say hi to Linda. Linda is part of some collective presencing circles that we're in, and it's wonderful to see you here. And other friends. Linda, would you like to say anything? Yeah.
Thank you, Kim. Um, I
I'm just so enjoying this, and I feel like I'm in that place of silence where you get when something is really coming in. Yeah, so Kim and I met through this practice of collective presencing, which the foundation of it is women who met for many seasons locally in various locations in Europe and England, called Woman Moving the Edge of Consciousness. So that is the foundation of that practice, and the the safety in that community, and the way that voices can be heard, and the way that there is for me, uh, and I think I can say for other people have experienced, we have a lot of co-practitioners. It's all volunteers, but it's a community that allows for deep sensing into what we call the middle of the source. Um, and it's a way of slowing down with dialogue and connecting with the field that we're in, as well as ourselves, as well as individuals, as well as the whole. So it's definitely a practice, especially as we are faced starkly with how much we've learned from modernity, um, and and so circles like this are to me, bringing us together in community is, I think, really important. So, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will share one little story related to Violeta's question. Just having now going into the seventh year of Theory U, of U Lab. So definitely part of a practice and part of what unfolded for me in terms of, and I would say a group that we're in terms of this ecological mindset setting in, had to do with our being part of that process. And at one point, I was going to attend a Jean Gebser conference online during COVID, and I didn't know much about him. I knew a little bit about him. And I just, in my own little query, I thought, well, what happens if I Google John Gebser and Otto Scharmer? And up popped Ria Beck, who co-founded Collective Presencing, and Ria Beck in this offer of dialogue. And I said, like, I'm going. I'm, just at this point, like, just exploring. What was really interesting is that at the same time, and without us mentioning it all until after we'd each been in a couple different sessions, Rupin, who is a dialoguing co-convener in this inquiry, was doing collective presencing for the first time in France. So it's those kinds of things, right? And just being in inquiry and gathering weekly for now some years, where it's almost like a different type of reality that's all here. It's here in our everyday lives when we slow down enough, right, to like listen and notice the synchronicities, and bringing that as part of being an inquiry on David Bohm, physicist David Bohm, in the system of thought in the workplace, has really just opened us up in ways that were just really unexpected. And there are a few of you here that are in this inquiry too. So to say thank you for that. That's one part of the little story, because I hadn't really noticed Earth before. I felt very connected, cosmos, but I hadn't noticed this miracle all around us. So next. And some new people.
To answer your question, Violetta, I was in my head all the time. I didn't know, I don't know. Up until 2017, I was always in my head, trying to find my way out. And I picked up a book by Eckhart Tolle. And with Eckhart Tolle, I learned about looking at flowers. And what I learned was when you look at a flower, you can feel the stillness that's in and around it. And then as so this was my training ground, flowers. And then I could feel it within me, then I could start feeling it in the celery sticks. So I started to self-regulate with celery sticks. I started to self-regulate with the plants. So it starts off, Eckhart Tolle said it's so much easier than humans. Humans are very difficult. And so just start with the flowers, start with the plants. And so it was just these daily practices of just sitting in nature, just building a relationship. So, having respect for the trees and approaching them as you would a human, just slowly by slowly. And the other piece was also sensing the energy in my own hands. And then as I could sense the stillness, I could feel the energy in me. So now when I go to a tree being, when I walk into the park, I just sit down and we start to relate when I can feel the energy in my body that we're relating. So it's a relation in a different way. That's my experience. It's not everyone's experience. But it starts off with something very simple for me.
And how this might relate to the outer world, not just because there's no other name, I just don't know any other name, is we, Ruben and I met after the 6 month immersion at Eckhart Tolle's School of Awakening. I think that's what it was called. And we're part of a hub of awakening awareness through corporations. And we're still holding that intention. That would be really nice for it to happen. Maybe through some of you.
Ruben, you helped me remember a story. Thank you, sister. I very much was at that point of absolute disconnect with nature, animals. I was so much sold into Babylon that I seriously even killed some cacti. I couldn't even keep them alive. And being like a farm girl, understanding that from a little girl, I used to always talk to animals. I used to always like talk to the plants. And um, thank you for that story because the flowers and good Eckhart Tolle also helped me a lot because it was by first reconnecting with the plant people and then understanding that we have the connection to all of our relations that includes stone people, the plant people. It, and so goes that beautiful, beautiful prayer poem. The power of the flower medicine that flowers gave to me when I started coming online again. When this started happening for me, it was like a few decades ago, kind of like where mostly the response that I would get would be like, "Where's your tinfoil hat?" And I'm grateful that how I see more in people awakening, understanding perhaps the concepts that I felt for a long time. Not only that I didn't have a voice, and even if I had a voice, I couldn't find the words to bring across. But those concepts, there's a lot of people that are starting to have those drop-ins, downloads, upgrades. And a little joke story that I used to have with a very good sister of mine from another mother is kind of during that time while I started coming back online with the plant people first and then with the animal kingdom, then it gave me the courage to do the reconnection to humans. But now from, oh, this is a tough one. Susie May, you will hear me on this one. But to fully sit in that vulnerable state of, yeah, here I am, you know? It gave me like kind of the track record that I needed to trust myself and my intuition again, to trust my fellow humans again. It was also like trust button was broken. But understanding that on deeper levels, flower, just looking at a flower and the sacred geometry that comes to us, the medicine that I need will be around me, it will find me. And I just really, you touched something in my heart when you had that beautiful red rose and you held it up. And for me, it's just like my big story sitting here tonight is that's what I realized. We just need to show up. I might just have to sit next to someone in a park bench somewhere, not say a word, but just be present. We might not fully comprehend that multifaceted, multidimensional that is in every human, every sister, but we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And I just know that if someone that was as disconnected as what I was, as the corporate bulldog that I was 15 years ago, now live and hogs back and go, I kind of have a small problem because where would I move to if I ever had to leave this paradise? You know? Um, because I find it very taxing to go into suburbia or big city lights. Um, yeah, story from my heart. Thank you.
I have this candle glowing for the campfire. So you are all here around the campfire in front of my computer. I'm wondering if we want to bring in any coaching stories right now. Um, it's up to you. I know Ruben has one.
Mm, I just want to start with that with coaching for me. So I was trained for solution focused coaching for the corporate environment. So I did it dutifully and then I couldn't really sell it because I didn't want to. Because I said there was something missing. There was something missing, and I don't feel right promising what I cannot deliver. Because what I've discovered is that people come for one reason, but we're going way deeper than that. And I've also learned that the people that do show up for the coaching, it's for the two of us. It's not just for them, it's for me as well. So the person is perfectly matched for where I still need to grow. And it's not just within coaching, it can be in any kind of project, but the people that show up, we our connection. So my role as the coach is to hold stillness. That's just to be that stillness and just ask questions that show up. And so this is for me where what I appreciate the coaching that I like to do is to see what questions show up as I listen with the whole body. And so what often shows up is that whatever they want is secondary to what wants to be shown to the two of us. So, so one of the things that also happens is that people are that I'm with are in their heads, and we can't go very far because they're in their heads. So at that point, I have to put my feet on the ground, become very even more present in myself so that they can become present. So, and I need to start breathing. So it's the quality of the presence is what helps in the coaching relationship. And then we can go to where we need to go. And what's interesting, so the coaching that I've learned is that I ask the questions and that's it. I don't give answers and I don't lead. And so what starts to happen is that the wisdom is being passed in our space and it's coming through the person in front of me, and the wisdom is for the two of us. Um, and it becomes a holy work and it becomes healing work. So the coaching is at another level than executive coaching of getting you to complete your project.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Like for your clients, like when you have a client that shows up and overwhelmed with basically anything any one of us can be overwhelmed with on a given day. What there was something you did
Yes.
before.
Yeah.
What do you do now?
Okay, so I had one client and she was emotionally overwhelmed, so we couldn't get to the coaching or the training or whatever we were supposed to be doing next. And so I said, okay, let's leave this place, let's go to the park. And then we went to the park. We both took off our shoes and just had her just ground in the grass, had her feel the air above, look at the blue sky, breathe with me. So just to bring her back in her body, just to reconnect with herself. And then, so all the time was spent in that, we couldn't do the coaching. But sometimes, in lieu of the coaching to bring the person back, it's about just reconnecting with yourself.
She was happy, and no one takes off, as I understand, living in Paris vicariously through Rupin, no one takes off their shoes in Paris. You don't go to a
Right.
park, take off your
No.
shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
That was
rules and structures here. And fortunately, I'm Indian. I can eat with my hands. I can I can take off my shoes. So for me, it's just like just if you trust me, let's go on this journey. Let's go on this journey to reconnect.
I would love to ask Sarah a question, if it's okay, Sarah. I know just a little bit about you, and I think I saw that you do some coaching, but I'm also really interested because of Violetta's question. You were a physicist,
Yeah.
and something happened. You left that behind and are now on a boat. So I think there's like a story there. And you and I know each other kind of through like we're both engaged in bioregioning things. Yeah.
So I won't say I've left physics behind, because at the heart of any scientist is someone who is insatiably curious. And I have not left that curiosity behind, because it forms a strong core of my coaching. So, um, so I started off in astrophysics, and then I went into meteorology. And I was exceptional at forecasting the weather in locations where there was no information, which are remote spots and war zones. And I was good at it because I could listen to the weather. I didn't know what I was doing at the time until I trained in shamanic practice some years later. Um, but it was when computers kind of took over and I got confined to a desk instead of being on the ground. Um, and I couldn't listen to the weather. I had to follow the computer models. That was when I wanted to go back to what was true for me and where my gift lies, the listening thing again. Um, and that's when I also moved back to being as close to nature as I could be and living as lightly and as close to nature, which in England is, well, for me at the moment, on an off-grid boat. And that also forms part of the ethos of my coaching. I don't want to leave any of my footprints inside my clients. So like Rupen says, I don't give answers, I don't lead. The coaching I do is based upon something called clean language, which was devised by Rupen's not kidding, David Grove, an amazing psychotherapist, a New Zealander, who devised a set of questions which prevent any bias or supposition on the part of the questioner from contaminating their client's experience. So it's a profoundly respectful form of inquiry. I don't want any of my suppositions to pollute, in essence, my client's experience, their life's experience. But I do want to ask questions which honors their experience and invokes, possibly, I don't know, the client won't know either, but invokes answers which may lead them towards where they want to be. And what I delight about the method, perhaps this comes from my weather forecasting time as well, when, to be quite frank, you really don't know what the weather's going to do you? And you never really know what your client's going to do when you ask them a question either. But I like to ask questions which give space for something new, something unknown to emerge. And if it's that can only emerge from inside my client when I ask these questions. And I call myself a wild soul coach, because it's touching that piece of us that it's still wild and still keeps our medicine, keeps us safe, keeps that bit, all that is true for us. That's still alive within us. And our wild soul is the piece which remembers all of that and can remember it for us. That word remember, to put back together again. And so that is my work. So clients can come with anything, because the nature of a client system is that everything is interconnected. As we know, with ecosystems, everything is interconnected. And to ask these very simple questions, which create the space for profound change. I can't cause it, but we can create space for it and to see what happens. And it also trains people to become curious about themselves. And there's a very different energy to being curious. There's a different kind of inquiry. There's not so much critique in it. It's a gentler way of being. At least my form of curiosity is anyway. And I'd like for people, if you can start being curious about yourself, you might start being curious about others and the world. And maybe get to know the world a little bit better, and maybe to care about pieces of it, because you're only going to protect ultimately the things you care about and the things that you love. And you've got to know things for that to happen. So I like to think that might be a kind of a holistic side effect of the coaching than I do too. Sorry, that was a bit long-winded, Kim.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. Curiosity and inquiry, and it's almost like we often talk about dialoguing as a way of life, just to be living that listening, living the curiosity. During the first administration here in the U.S., I was actually with Patty when I don't have the little hearts here, but instead of a visioning board, these just came up. And what I'll just show you. I had one of these little hearts that was full of questions to represent curiosity, to remind myself of, do not despair, just be curious, what possibly can happen today? And then this was for compassion. And this, to me, represented freedom. We just kind of I put these things together, and the freedom, like for me, the best type of freedom is freedom of thought, freedom to not get back into automatic thinking that we don't know we're in until we're out of it. So anytime, just hearing what you're saying, Sarah, about inquiry and curiosity, it feels at least foundational, sometimes to the core. I'm curious about what moves through people's bodies during coaching, like what, and I mean, I'm sensing the energies. I also want to ask, if it's okay, Daria, Ruben and I, we met Daria, maybe others here too, through constellations, but not human. There are some human aspects of it, but constellations of bioregions or the land, or different, definitely more than human. And wow, that was very quickly connecting for some of us. Do you want to share a little bit about what that practice is and how you're using it in community?
Oh, that's a big question. I don't know, I was listening to everyone and realized that I don't have a story of coming to the countryside because I was born there in a small valley between the mountains in the vastness of Siberia. So it's kind of this feeling that I'm always there and I'm always connected to the land, and perhaps that's the beauty of it, to kind of have this capacity to kind of hold the energy for the bioregions that kind of matched when I joined the conference, and we started to constellate and put it in the constellation as the element of the system, let's say. Because in the family constellation, we mostly look at the relationships between the members of the family, and look to where the disruption in the fields are, as to who is excluded, what have been forgotten, kind of, or what has been disconnected. But in a sense of the bioregions, it was a huge movement to hold the space for the lands. And it's such a beauty of like reading the field, because every region has a certain, I don't know, quality of the field that is there. And I guess I also came to that practices like gradually through my journey, because I've been to rebirthing. I met Mark Pagashnik once in Moscow. He's one of the from Slovenia. I think there was someone I saw in the group from here. He has this way of just going to the lands and listening to what's the field there. Like, because in many regions it has a certain charge of, I don't know, previous wars, the conflict zones, something that is there in the air that could be sensed, that doesn't kind of let things flow differently. It doesn't let, and it stays there as an energetic charge. So he used to bring the groups of people to just be with the land and be with the spirit of the land, and call the spirits that are there available. So that was part of my journey to participate in such groups. And then with the bioregions, it was kind of a similar way, just using the constellation as a tool to sense into what is there and what is not kind of spoken in a way in the community, because there is always something in the dynamics, in the hidden dynamics. So I know I just love how it helps to bring to surface things, to acknowledge what's really there for each team. And I admire the teams for coming from that stance, who are ready to kind of hold the space for that. Because we all are embedded somewhere. It's like I come from somewhere, I bring all that with me, and anywhere I go, I feel the change in the field. So it's just the beauty of constellation to be able to reveal those things on the collective level. What are there? What are the traumas that we are still holding to? What are the old loyalties that are still present through centuries? I feel that on myself. Like sometimes I say things like I'm from like 100 years back. And it comes very natural. I don't know where I'm from. So yeah, it's the beauty of the work, and constellation is just a method, just a tool to give the space to what's really in the field and in us, in the body.
you, Daria. And Heike, would you like to come in and you know, beautiful comment, and please share, please share.
Sure. I'm not sure what to share, to be honest. I was listening to everybody else, and there are so many like little gold nuggets there that I heard. I wrote in the chat. You know what Sarah said about becoming curious. I find that is such a big thing, becoming curious about ourselves. So I practice myofascial release, and I find that with people, yeah, it's quite amazing. I don't know if you're familiar with myofascial release. So it's like it's working on the connective tissue of the body in order to get things that are stuck in our bodies out, because we are like libraries. Our bodies store everything, and I think in my understanding from what I have seen is not necessarily things that we experience. I think it mostly is, but it can also be things that have been experienced by our ancestors, any trauma, any, whatever it is that still sits in our bodies as well. So when I work on people, sometimes they come to me purely out of a uh, physical, yeah, from a physical perspective, to have me work on their bodies to get more mobility or whatever it is. And what often happens is that something happens. Like I will touch a part of their body and I start to release there, and all of a sudden they will be crying or screaming, and it's just so much coming up there. And that's where that becoming curious about ourselves comes in, because I think a lot of us, we don't care about ourselves. And I'm still hitching onto that what Sarah said. We care for what we protect what we care for. And if we don't know ourselves, if we're not curious about ourselves, that's like a dead end street. We won't protect ourselves, so what will we protect? Don't know if I'm making much sense. Yeah, I have so many thoughts going through my head from all of what I heard before, and trying to somehow piece it together for myself as well. um yeah, not actually sure what I'm saying, but I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for sharing your insights, and for sharing your insights and giving so many little specks of wisdom that can be made into a bigger picture. Like we all come from from what it seems, from such different backgrounds and places in the world. And I think when I listen to everybody, and when I see, it's like this, like a beautiful web, like a beautiful map, and it's all interconnected and it's all intertwined, and it's all so important. And for our self-inquiry, it's so important for our self-inquiry. Yeah, that was a weird thing. But I'm kind of thinking aloud. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, so thank you for calling me out and letting me voice what's going through my head.
I'm wondering, Susie, would you like to come in and maybe share a few words about your own coaching or whatever you want to do to wrap everything together? The forest, by the way, the three of you are, for those who don't know, it's where J.R. Tolkien was inspired to write The Hobbit and his trilogies. So the magic that you might hear in the voices are the magic of the places where you are too. It's coming through you. So Susie, let me turn over to you. We have 10 minutes left, and then we are done.
Okay. It's interesting with coaching because in my journey, it having pretty much been lost throughout my life I had a buffet of careers, and I think my destination now, I had to have the taste of so many things, from makeup artistry to merchant banking to trading to travel to baby massage to you name it. I tasted it. I was so curious. Sarah, curious. And I guess in the last, I don't know, a couple of decades of suddenly realizing that I was lost. And I think the big thing is I felt I really had no purpose. And my journey down the rabbit hole was to meet myself with a very curious hat on my head of, who am I? What am I? Which led me into this present state over the years, which led me into these downloads that came through me of how our energetics, our energy bodies were made up of literally our mind, our body, and then this whole bigness of multidimensionality of the soul was coming through. And there was so much information, and I wasn't fitting in. I was vibrating at the wrong vibration. I used to be called the woman from the future because I literally was vibrating at a different vibration. The resonance with earthly beings was becoming very difficult. I just didn't fit in. I didn't feel I belonged. And my yearning was to belong somewhere. And the journey down the rabbit hole realized in my universe was I had to learn how to belong, how to love. Everything was happening inside, self-acceptance, self-love, the whole works. And so these downloads and this knowledge that was coming through me of our energy beings and how we operate and how we connect and what our connection is and resonance to nature led me to this self path, or this path of self mastery, which led me to nature, completely ejected out of city life and out of noise. My path was completely surrender. I had no direction. And I knew that I knew that I knew I had a mission. I had a deeper purpose. And I was going totally blind into the unknown. And so with the disintegration of careers, my marriage, very, very strained relationships with my family, this mission was so strong, and I felt I was being so held, and I just had to go. I had to keep going, which led me to and down this path of then documenting and writing and starting to speak about the art of being and understanding us not being human doings, but human beings. The only way I could do it was the experience. I had all this theory and this knowledge coming to me. And slowly in my life, because this knowledge was inside, my life started following suit. And I had studied as a coach years ago when I got divorced, I think by 2011, with John Maxwell. I came over to the States, and my calling and my really deep yearning was to reconnect with the value system of the human being, and in business and however you show up in the world, whether it's business, whether it's in your families, with having this compassion, with having this natural want to say leadership qualities, because I was in a classroom of leading my own ship. And that's what I've been doing, is understanding on so many levels of this multidimensional being, the full operational system of the ship. And my passions for coaching are very much like Rupen says and Sarah says, of meeting you where you're at, hearing where you're at, and then be able to put light on matter with all these different layers of the mind, the body, and the soul, to find that inner peace. And the energies have been, I'm always talking energies, 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 energies. And understanding how to balance, how to soothe, how to readjust, how to navigate this atom, this one piece of the whole puzzle, sovereignly, like really own my space, own who I am, what I am, the value system, the whole makeup of who we are. And it hasn't been an easy journey for any of us, and it's been a different language. I feel like we're stepping into a different classroom. We never got taught about energies. I certainly didn't know anything about my energy being, what I'm made up, and how I can self-regulate my atom and work it through my system and alchemize. And it became pretty powerful when I moved to the forest, when things were a lot quieter, because like Uhuru said, I literally feel now, no matter where I go, I am the forest. I'm taking me with me. So I can come to Cape Town and I can hear all the frequencies of all the machines and everything around me. It's like a real, and yet my casing is still my tree. So the mastery of this vessel has been so big and so expansive, and yet it's so simple. It's so simple. Like, when you're leading from your heart, which is the tree, which is the regular beat of this earth, when we can get to our natural rhythm and create this peaceful channel where there's only one voice that comes through, which is our own voice that we trust and that we take the next step from. So I find myself in this coaching position now of sharing and well, I suppose holding this wisdom that we have for others to step in, to hear themselves, to understand their processing. And not just the coaching now, it's evolved into, I'm very passionate about one-on-ones of these incredibly powerful medicine women, these women that are stepping into their futures through themselves. Where now,
I'm sorry, I just want to say thank you. We have just 2 minutes, and that's a perfect time, if it's okay for me to just.
Perfect. So
in the listen.
And then we'll close off.
Yeah, we just really have 2 minutes, but I want to bring in Uhuru again, because just something you said reminds me of just a conversation. I don't remember what it was when I was saying, I just don't know something. And Uhuru, you were there and you said, the plants know, Kimberly. Don't have to know. So that whether that's coaching or being friends or whatever that interaction and flow is, I think it's all around us. And because you weren't here at the very beginning, I just want to give you a word, Uhuru, to maybe close us out, because we really just have 2 minutes.
Oh, my word is going to be gratitude. This is such an amazing experience, the healing that is happening, the energy that we are sharing, and to know that we're really your network, Kimberly. You know, I feel like everyone knows this is such a beautiful expression. And I want to take a moment to hold Kimberly and and Susie May, because we've been held so beautifully in this time together, a circles network. Okay. Yeah, thank you. We've been just held in such a lovely way. And I am so full of so many lessons and stories that I'm integrating. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the lineages of us all of our mothers, our grandmothers, our grandmothers' grandmothers, and all of the men who have been a part of the tapestry that we are, and just take a moment to really acknowledge and the field that I think has come up in several different ways, and the energetic field I've heard, and energy. Some of us will refer to that as God, or as a higher power, or you. And I just wanted to just give thanks and appreciation for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And those are beautiful words. And we want to thank all of you who are here and asked the questions, shared your voices, from Susie and me, and Rupen behind the scenes. Kim, what about this? What about that? Thank you, Rupen. We are a good team, all of us. Thank you, and enjoy the next session. What is the next session? Marina, can I invite you in this moment just to share the name, and then we'll have a little break, and we'll come back at the top of the hour.
Yes, thank you, Kim. Thank you for keeping within the time, and thank you for this very special 2 hours, showing the real strength of women, being able to sit also and pause in quiet moments, and that is okay too. And of course, all the amazing stories and practices that you share. Thank you very much. And I'm passing now the torch to Dave, who will be holding space for the next session. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. And